The movie starts, and we are shown a pregnant lady whose name is Natalia, and then the time of her delivery has also come, and at that time Natalia's mother Alina is also with her. Natalia's health begins to deteriorate, and her mother immediately takes her to the hospital, but it is already late at night, so there are not many doctors available in the hospital, but there is a nurse who delivers her, and Natalia's baby is born. But everyone saw the baby quite startled because those people couldn't believe what they were seeing. Because as soon as the baby is born, it begins to fly in the air. Natalia is also very surprised to see this, and she tells her mother that an angel child has been born here. But Natalia's mother is a wise and experienced lady. She immediately understands that the baby is now normal, and it happens that the baby is born without gravity. They are very well protected and leave the hospital immediately. While the nurse is quite explaining to them that it is not yet time for them to go, they do not believe her and come to their home. When they get home, Natalia's mother asks her a strange question. "Do you remember who the father of this child is?" she asked. But Natalia could not remember who the father of this child was. Then his mother tells him that this is not a normal child, and we have to keep this secret, and if anyone comes to know about this, then tell us. Seats may be encountered. Then he selects the name of the child. Then he is named Oscar, and Oscar was not really a normal child because he was very difficult to handle. When they left him alone, he would cling to the roof and stay there for a long time. Seeing this, his daughter was very happy. So that the child stays on the ground, and the roof is also made very soft and lightweight, so that the child does not get hurt, because they were also afraid that if they leave it alone outside, it will fly in the air. That face will go somewhere. That's when they are very conscious of Oscar and his grandmother, and his mother take great care of him. Then Oscar starts to grow up, but he stays at home because his grandmother doesn't let him go out. Staying at home, he used to watch Superman cartoons on mostly TV, and he himself used to imagine that he was also a superhero. Then Oscar repeatedly asks his mother Natalia about this. Why don't they let him go, but they ignore him? Oscar would often look out of the window and see people, even children like himself, who were going to school and playing with laughing tongas, and miss the free life. He used to think that he might be imprisoned here forever, and one day Oscar gets fed up with his cab of the house and tries to go out of the window, but his grandmother sees him and she becomes very angry. After seeing this incident, her grandmother seals all the windows and explains to Oscar that he will never leave this house. Not like the children who go to school and stay at home. On hearing this, Oscar's mother becomes very angry and says that for how long we will keep him in this prison food. One day it has to go out. Then Oscar's mother brings him a jacket in which she keeps 2 panthers in her pockets so that he cannot fly. She does not listen to her mother and takes Oscar in her arms. And at the same time, she also tells Oscar that he will not tell his secret to anyone like Superman, otherwise she too can never become Superman. One day, Oscar goes shopping with his mother, and there he bumps into a girl. The little girl's name is Agatha. All of Agatha's things fall out of her hand, and she screams a lot at Oscar and gives Oscar 2 bottles of water that now your punishment is that you will take it home with me. But Oscar refuses for this, but Agatha inspires him a lot. Oscar agrees, and without telling his mother, he leaves with the girl. Now Oscar has 2 heavy bottles in his hand and also has stones in his pockets. Because of this, he feels very lonely. He removes both the stones from his pockets and throws them away, that he becomes friends with her. Then Igata reaches her house, and she asks Oscar for a bottle of water, but Oscar refuses to give the bottle of water because he knows that if she gives this bottle of water to him, so he will fly in the air, because Ekta is not understanding, and she snatches the bottle from Oscar. As soon as she takes the bottle from Oscar, he flies into the air. That place is quite closed from all sides, so Oscar does not fly very high. Ekta is quite surprised to see this and shouts and calls him Superman. Oscar asks for help. Hearing this, Ekta immediately goes to her room and picks up her pink bag, which is full of stones, and her idea was to bring them in. He will keep the stones in his pockets, which was a good idea. His plan proves to be good, and the Oscar comes down, and then they become close friends. Then Oscar tells Agatha that you promise that you will keep this secret and will not tell anyone, and on the other hand, his mother and his grandmother are very upset because of Oscar's disappearance. She searches for him a lot, and she thinks that he might have flown in the air because the stones that her mother kept in her pocket are found falling on the ground. Then Oscar comes home with the same bag that Agatha gave him and tells his mother about Agatha. Then his mother asks him, "Didn't you tell your secret somewhere?" But he lies to his mother that I did not tell. Then Oscar and Agata continued to see each other for some days. Then one day Oscar's mother comes to know that Agatha knows about the secret. And then the day after that, the mother does not allow him to meet with Unity. While Ekta would often come to meet Oscar at his house, Natalia would send her through the door. Then the people around them began to look at him with famous eyes because they felt that perhaps Oscar's mother and grandmother treated him badly. Then she doesn't let him go out of the house much, and she doesn't even go to school. He then informed police. Then the next day, the police come to their house and warn them that they should send Oscar to school from tomorrow, and they were forced to send Oscar to school. Then Oscar's mother used to go to school with him, and they also realized that Oscar cannot live a normal life. Then they bring Oscar, and their eyes are filled with tears. Her mother understands everything and decides to leave the house. Then they leave their home and start living in a faraway place. Many decades pass. Now Oscar also becomes young. His mother becomes very old, and his grandmother dies, and Oscar still has the bag that Agatha gave him. He would never take that bag away from her. Even when UNK slept, he used to take her with him. But even today, her lifestyle is the same way of living. He lives at home, and his life is in shambles. Oscar's mother and he cared a lot for each other. Oscar was now fading from his life. While hiding this secret, he was very tight-lipped. Then he thinks that if the world gets to know about him, he will be famous all over the world in a short time. Like his ideal man, Superman, and many people will write books on him. But his mother is nothing like that. Her mother explains to her that nothing like this would happen because her mother felt that if the world found out the secret, she would lose it. Then he becomes patient for his mother's sake, but then his patience begins to run out, and one day he leaves home without telling his mother. Then he goes to a magic show where people's talent is shown, and he goes there to show his talent for the first time. Then the same night the show becomes a hit, and her mother also watches the show. In this case, Oscar's mother helpless people have seen Oscar on TV, and he has also become famous. Then the next day, he meets a man named David, who is actually a content agent. He tells Oscar that I can help you become famous. We will organize a very big show that will make you famous. He then gives Oscar a very cramped house where he can live and gets him to sign a contract because Oscar wanted to be famous. They both go to the big show together and show their performance, and overnight Oscar becomes a famous personality, and later Oscar is named the man without gravity. They're doing their jobs that we have enjoyed a lot and earn a lot of money. But then one day Oscar realizes that the dream he had seen as a child to become Superman is not a superhero, but he has become a puppet that people use for their enjoyment. Sometimes people used to call her in the photo shoot, and sometimes in a magic show. He begins to dislike all this. But a lot of books have been written about it. There's a lot of magazines and some docuseries that put his grandmother and his mother in a bad light, which Oscar hates. And then there's one last show where he gets to wear Angel's costume, which is very bad for him. He says that I am not an angel. He gets very angry and starts bad-mouthing people on the show itself. He then tells his mother that he has decided to leave all this. Then he tells his agent that it was just my job. I'm not famous anymore, and Majid won't do that. His agent explains that you can't leave it like this, but Oscar is fed up with all this. He says go and tell people that the man without gravity is dead or up in the air somewhere. And then her mother too. He says goodbye because he wants to live a different life. And the next day it is reported on the news that the man without gravity is dead, and many people make various claims on him. Oscar's mother now starts to live alone, and many visitors used to come to her house to ask about Oscar. But he would not tell anything to those people, and then many years would pass. Then Oscar's mother also dies, but Oscar was still alive. He lived a different life. He had a big beard and lived on a wheelchair so that the world would never know his secret. He had also changed his name and started working as a receptionist in a hotel. Everyone treated him very well, and one day his childhood friend Egital met him, and she recognizes Oscar as the pink bag that was still with Oscar, which he gave her in childhood, and because of that bag, he remained on the ground, and he did not even get married. They both become very happy to meet each other, but Agita did not get satisfied with her life because Agita's character was not good now. His only aim was to make money. She used to come with many males to the same hospital where Oscar was, seeing which Oscar felt very bad. Oscar often exposes his heart to Ekta, but she has changed a lot and ignores his words. This is clearly visible. This Oscar has not yet taken him out of his heart. The reason for Ekta's change was because she had lived a very sad life and Oscar had also left her. Then with time they understand each other and both of them get married and then start living in the same house where they used to live in childhood, and here the movie ends.